All right, this is Industrial Dose Response Relationship Training by Jacob Terracina. Introduction. Employee training for all field safety technicians. Arsine hydride exposure limits and health effects. The American Conference of Governmental Industrial Hygienists, ACG threshold limit values. National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, NIOSH. They give the recommended exposure level. Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, give the permissible exposure limit. Training objectives, we will discuss CAS number 7784-42-1 for arsine, time-weighted average, and discuss arsine exposure of threshold limit values, permissible exposure limits, and recommended exposure limits. We'll also go over hazards and health effects. Lesson 2. Arsine exposure limits and health effects. Exposure to arsine gas as a vapor can be through inhalation, skin absorption, skin and or eye contact, and ingestion from drinking water that is contaminated with arsine gas. The time-weighted average is the formula that is the sum of the portion of time period multiplied by the level of substance or agent exposed to during the time period dividend by the hours of the workday, usually 8 hours. Standard occupational exposure for arsine is 0.05 parts per million as a time-weighted average for any 8-hour work shift or a 40-hour work week. Example exposure for arsine, 0.25 in 15 minutes times 5 milligrams per cubic meter of air for 8 hours. Permissible exposure limit is 0.002 milligrams per cubic meter of air over 8 hours. Exposure limits to arsine. The threshold limit value is 0.005 parts per million over 8 hours. The recommended exposure level, REL, is 0.0. Some concerns about health from the dangers of arsine. It's considered a carcinogen. It destroys red blood cells and can cause anemia. It can irritate the lungs and or cause pulmonary edema, which is a fluid buildup in the lungs. Kidney and liver function alterations with repeated exposure, and can damage your nervous system.